Hey guys, Mr. Catlin here. We're looking at our latest digital lesson, which we're going to start this week, Unit 4. And before we really get into the meat of 7th grade, we're going to do some 6th grade stuff that you should have talked about, or maybe you didn't. I don't know if COVID affected that or not, but we're going to kind of these next 2 days, we're just going to do a little bit of review of what you should have gotten a little bit of when you were in 6th grade. And that way, the week we come back, we'll really be able to start with the 7th grade percentage stuff. Our next unit is about percentages. And so I pulled up a question that I found on a 6th grade textbook. And this was something that you were expected to know how to do last year. So the first thing I wanted to do is just to review with you what a percent is. So what is a percent? Well, a percent, you guys see them all over the place. Sports are riddled with percentages, but it's just a ratio of a number that's compared to 100. And that's why you always have 100% being full and 0% being nothing. It's always between those two numbers. So what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to show you the 3 different strategies that are probably the most popular with solving a percentage problem, a basic one. And then throughout the week, next week, we'll see those being used as we go throughout. So let's look at this problem, and then I'll do all 3 down here to show you how they work. The original price of a scarf was $16. During a store closing sale, a shopper saved $12 on the scarf. What percentage discount did she receive? Explain or show our reasoning. All right, so the first one that I want to show off to you is probably the most basic, and it's called the percent proportion. And since percentage is a ratio, then a proportion of 2 ratios that are equivalent will show clearly what's being represented with the percentage. So here in this case, the percent proportion is always going to be 2 fractions that are equal to each other. Always 2 fractions. And one of the fractions, since we're dealing with a percent, is always a number that's compared to 100. This is like the percent side of your proportion. Sometimes the percent's given, sometimes like this problem, it's not. So it's a question mark for us right now. But the other side of the percent proportion that's not dealing with the percentages is the values, which are usually going to be some type of part and some type of whole. So in this case, the whole would be the original price of the scarf, the $16, and the part would be the part that you saved. The smaller part is usually the smaller number. So in this case, it would be set up as 12 out of 16 equals something out of 100. Now, if you were trying to find that question mark with this strategy, what you would do is you would simplify this ratio over here. This is how I would do it. There's many ways. 4 will go into both of these. So 4 will go into this 3, and it will go into that 4 times. And then what I always try to do is I always try to find out if there's a scale factor or a constant that jumps me over. And 4 times 25 equals 100. So 3 times 25. This tells me that they got a 75% discount. 75% discount would be the answer to this. And this would be good shown work using the percent proportion. And let's do another strategy. Another strategy that's pretty popular, starting to gain a lot of popularity, is the double number line. We'll use this a lot in our lessons throughout the next few weeks. So I'm going to do a double number line. And what a double number line does is it compares 2 different things that grow at the same rate. So they both start at 0. The bottom number line is usually dealing with the percentage, so you'll always have 100 on there. This is your scale. You're always going to be between 0 and 100 unless you go past the whole. And the whole is always the number, and I'm going to write here, the whole is always the number that lines up with the 100. So in this particular case, our whole was $16, the large number. And we were trying to find out what $12 represented on this scale of percentage. Well, you can kind of visually do a lot with the double number line. You can see that half is 50%, right? And we're looking for the number 12, which is directly between 8 and 16, right? 4 down, 4 up. So 12 would be right here. And you can see that 75 is directly between 50 and 100. So you kind of have a visual way of doing it with the double number line. It's more of a visual person's guide. It works good for easier numbers, but as the numbers get harder, it's not always the best method. But we can see there that 75% is the answer. And then lastly, all right, the last method that I want to show you, I'll do over here. This will look very familiar. We can do a table. A percent is a ratio of a number compared to 100. It's a percent compared to a value, right? It's a percentage compared to a value. And the percentage that's always important is the 100%. And the value in this case that represents the 100% is the full asking price of the scarf before it went on discounts. And so if you have these two numbers in your table, what you can think is, okay, what's my constant of proportionality that gets me from one to the other? So you can do 100 and divide by 16 to see what that is. And that's 6.25. So you can multiply by 6.25 to get from one side to the other. That's your constant, right? And then they come along and they ask you about what's 12? What's 12? What percentage is 12? So if we put 12 inside of our table like this, then we can use our constant and watch this, 6.25 multiplied by 12. Watch what happens when I multiply these two numbers together. Just take me a second to work through it. 5, 2, and 6, right? And when I add, when I carry, look what comes out. 2 decimal moves, 75 happens again. So you can see we can get that 75% 3 different ways. Some teachers also just showed if you can find that percentage by dividing these two. If you type those two numbers into your calculator and divide them, this is what comes out, and you can see the relationship of how 75 connects to all of them. So just a quick reminder on how to work with percentages. I don't know how you did it in elementary school. Maybe you use one of these strategies. Maybe you did it a different way. That could be something that we might discuss in our Zoom.